All right, welcome yet again to another one of our behavior streams. Hold on a second so that I don't get the feedback here. All right. So we concluded our series on everything that I know about what to teach in terms of applied behavior analysis done the ABA Bears way. Today, we're wrapping everything up by answering some questions here. Now, funny enough, I didn't find very many of the questions pertain to my discussion in terms of all the ABA principles. So it is what it is. If you have no questions, I'm good with it. If you do, make sure you submit those questions, and then I can look at clarifying any of the points that I made in any of the videos or the streams that I've done. All right, let's go ahead and blaze forward with our first question. All right, so some BCBA out there told the parent, never use punishments. One BCBA advised against using any form of punishment, including response cost, overcorrection, non-contingent movements. I actually don't even know what non-contingent movements are. I'm like, what is a non-contingent? Anyways, they even said that if a teacher asks for consent to use these methods, that they should stay away, avoid taking lessons from these horrible, horrible monsters out there that are trying to help your kids. Okay. Now, they explain that such approaches could cause trauma and only create the illusion of short-term success, ultimately leading them to more harm than good. This is where the parent is feeling very, very confused. The parent has attended TPT. I don't know what that is. And positive behavior support. And I should say they've attended certain lectures given on that TPT topic, and they've practiced positive behavior support. So they understand the importance of being proactive with your interventions, okay? Using prevention strategies and using environmental modifications. However, when it comes to issues like picky eating, aggression, and dangerous behaviors, response costs and non-contingent movements are often involved. Some say these approaches always hurt the child's emotions and that we should only teach alternative behaviors. Okay. Of course, the parent believes in teaching alternative behaviors, but not for that particular reason. And so it makes them feel really conflicted. All right. How to best answer it? Okay. Remember in my discussion about what punishment actually is, punishment is not any one particular act that you do. Okay. It's the effect that it has on behavior. Okay. So if I do something, okay, and the consequence for me is you coming over and giving me $100, but then I stop doing that thing that I'm doing, you giving me $100 is punishment. All right. It's funny how some BCBA still don't quite understand that our science is not based on these fixed understandings. It is not based on everyday life understandings of what punishment is. It's not jail time. It's not prison sentences. Okay. It is the result of a consequence having reduced a particular behavior. Right. So if you're going to say, I never, ever, ever use punishment, your ability to decrease behaviors is gone. Gone. All right. The thing is, reinforcement has its place in the grand scheme of things. It's there to promote behaviors, it's there to make sure that behaviors occur more and more frequently. Then you have the other half of it, which is the punishment and extinction side. And the punishment and extinction side reduces or suppresses behaviors. Okay. So that's why you have this 1-2 combo that is very, very effective in ABA. Okay. It's that, okay, I have reinforcers that are going to motivate the child to do the right thing. And then I have punishers that the child does not want in order to drive those problematic behaviors down. Now, the fantastic thing is when you suppress the problematic behaviors and you reinforce all the pro-social behaviors, guess what happens? They're happier. They're more fulfilled. Okay. So I don't know what those individuals are really talking about, because I've worked with so many kids in my life and I've never shied away from using any form of punishment. Okay. And I can guarantee you, those kids, a year after we start, are happier than the day that we started. 2 years, even happier. 5 years, fantastically happier. Okay. Because they're not spending every moment of their day anxious. Okay. They're not spending every moment of the day wanting something but can't handle their own emotions and delaying their gratification. And they're not just crying and whining and all of that stuff all the time. One of the clients I did supervision with a long, long time ago, when I first started supervising, he literally spent every moment of his day whining or crying or complaining. Right? It was a miserable, miserable existence. Right? He had a lot of rigidities. He could not handle things being out of place. And so we worked on all that stuff. We worked on him tolerating, like, oh, I move something out of place. He gets all freaked out, and then he learns to tolerate it. Okay. At the same time, we built up a lot of skills, a lot of things for him to be able to do. Okay. And as we kind of attacked everything in that way, what happened was he just learned to tolerate a lot more things. And when he tolerated a lot more things, it allowed him not to cry or whine as frequently, because he wasn't crying or whining. Then he had opportunities finally to find things that are enjoyable in life. Yeah. So remember, in the science of ABA, punishment is not what you do. Okay. Punishment is the effect that what you did has on the behavior, and specifically that it has reduced the behavior. So you thinking like, I'm punishing my kids by yelling at them. Oh, sure, their behaviors are still the same. So probably a little worse than they before. It's technically not punishment. You're reinforcing them. You think it's punishment because that's what everybody tells you it is, but in the science, it is not. All right. And most BCBAs out there suck at their jobs. They are not well trained. They don't really understand. And that is the problem in the field today, which is why we went with the ABA Bears approach to ABA, because ABA as a field has got sidetracked. It is so far away from being grounded in the science of things. And instead, it's about, oh, how does that make me feel? Like, who cares? Okay? Because all I care about is making sure that this child has a better future, that this child is able to live as independent of a life as possible. Why? Because there's dignity in that. Do you know what happens as you get older and you start to lose your ability to look after yourself? You lose some dignity, you lose some pride in there. Okay. And guess what? When you go and you work with these kids and you push them and they succeed, and I tell you, I succeed with my kids, okay? And they are always, always happier when we're done than they were when we started with them. That's all I got to say about that. All right. So you don't need to worry about it. Everyone will tell you why. Like, everybody hates ABA Bears. You know why? We're the best at what we do. Okay. And we're not doing it for the money. That's the key. You ask anybody else, they are doing it absolutely for the money. Tell them, what evidence do they have that punishment actually has these kind of things? And when you take a look at it, every piece of evidence about punishment being bad, okay, is the misuse of punishment. The misuse. The I didn't cook something correctly because I didn't follow the recipe or I didn't understand what I was doing. Okay. That's what happens. And I can tell you right away, most BCBAs suck. All right. Enough of my rant. I apologize if you're a BCB out there. I'm sorry I called you sucky. I'm glad that you're watching us to get better, and hopefully you can get better. But don't be saying this crap to people. All right. On to question number 2. They're struggling with their child's academic performance in school. The child refuses to do tasks at school that they are perfectly capable of performing. Oh, yeah. Ah, that's that sounds familiar. That sounds like every single child I've ever worked with, right? Okay. All of our kids have this thing, right? They have it when parents don't do what therapists do. They have it when parents do what therapists do, but no other family member does. Like, oh, in front of people that know what their abilities are and push them and make them do what they are capable of doing, they perform. But as soon as somebody comes into the environment that doesn't know them, they act like they're the dumbest kids in the world. That, what? Oh, yeah. My name? I don't know my name. So this experience that you're having is actually a very normal experience. Okay. Now, as an example, the parent tells us that they can do basic math, but when asked to solve those same math problems at school, they'll just sit down and write random numbers. When asked to write in Korean, they'll scribble something strangely, and they even act as if they can't write their own name. All right, normal. Okay, this is par for a course, as they say in the US or in golfing, even though I don't golf. It's par for a course. Okay. The thing is, once people know what they're capable of doing, guess what's gonna happen? They're gonna make them do it. That's why our kids are so smart. Because why? Why should I show you that I know? Because I don't want to do it anyways. And if I don't do it, you're not going to make me do it. If I show you, perhaps I don't know it. You're not going to make me do something I don't know. So it's better for me to play stupid. It is absolutely in their best interest, not in their long term, like, oh, okay, like they'll be better for it, but it is in their self interest. It's in their proclivity to do that, which is, I'm going to show you nothing, and then you don't expect anything out of me, and I can coast by not paying attention, by not even really working. Right? Now, this is a very observant parent, right? From what the parent has observed, it seems like they realize that if they act as though they can't do something, others will either simplify the task or won't ask them to do it at all. Okay. The parent just doesn't know how to correct this problematic behavior. Even the special education teacher who has worked with the child for 2 years initially thought my child couldn't even do single digit addition. However, when the parent visited the school and had the child solve problems, they completed them in less than 5 minutes, leaving the teacher in shock. They also recorded a video of the child solving multiplication problems at home and showed it to the teacher, who was even more surprised. Okay. This year, the child has a new special education teacher who told me they couldn't gauge their child's skill level and even thought the child didn't even know words like water or how to solve 1 + 2. Now, the parent clarified that the child isn't at that level, but they know that when the child goes to school, doesn't complete the work properly and write nonsense, that's what they're going to do. Okay. So, to everyone else, this makes it look as if the parent is lying about what the child's capable of doing. And people oftentimes will see this parent as an overly optimistic parent. Okay? This also happens not only at school, but also in the developmental center. Okay? No one seems to believe mom, and she doesn't know where to turn for help. Okay? So she's wondering, how can they help the child correct this behavior? What should they ask a special education teacher to do? Right? So there's just a little bit more here before I go about my own sandbox about that. Last year, the parent warned the child that if they kept avoiding work, they would have to stay after school for extra study lessons with the parent. And they actually did that for a couple of times. However, warnings don't seem to work well. Okay? Well, one thing is you have to be very, very consistent. If you're going to implement an intervention, there has to be no wiggle room out of that intervention, because once the child knows, like, oh, you're not going to stick through something, they're going to exploit it and they're not going to respect the intervention itself. Okay? And warning have no power except for the consequences that ensue when whatever you warned the child about wasn't followed. So if you warn without the follow through, the warning actually just becomes white noise, just becomes background noise. Why? Because you warning me means nothing to me. It doesn't actually change anything because I know you're not going to follow through with that. Okay? Now it says you did do it some. Okay. That some is not enough. All right. So parent doesn't want them to keep missing assignments at school. They need advice on how to address this issue. All right. This is going to be hard to address. Why? Because you need the teacher, the special ed teacher, whoever's in your life to actually know what your child's capable of. Okay. Now, if you have video, and I would highly recommend you recording your child doing things. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to brief, you're going to tell everybody and show everybody by video exactly what your child's capable of doing. Now, not just one video. I want you to get a collection of videos so that it's, hey, these are all different times, different days. You can see I'm not helping them at all. I'm just giving them the work and they're able to complete it all by themselves. Okay. That way, you can, and you know, for you, I think you guys have Naver, you know, I have Google Drive, you know, you can upload that stuff, get a little link, and then you know, when you go meet with them, you can just play that for them so that they actually can see, oh, this is your child's skill level. Okay. And then the harder part is, even though they recognize that that's your child's skill level, getting them to do something about it. All right. Now, Korea is really well known for a really exceptional educational system. Okay. Except for special needs kids. Okay. Those kids, I don't even, it's just bad. All right. It's not much better in the US. Okay. I'm not telling you like, oh, the US is so much better. Okay. But I would not rely on those systems to be able to help you. Okay. Which means, and I'm sad to say this, you have to do a lot of the work yourself. Okay. What that means is that you have to really stay on top of the teacher, make them do stuff with him in school, have them implement consequences at school. If he doesn't get this work done in that time, make him stay in at recess. Make him do it then. You know, if I send snacks to with him to school, I want you to withhold those snacks. Okay. Do those kind of things to make it so that for sure somebody's going to push your child to do what they're capable of there. Now, this other intervention, that's actually not bad, you know, in terms of your line of thinking. Like, oh, when he does it, when he fails to do it, then okay, I'll do it at home with you. You just didn't do it enough or to a big enough degree. For me, every single time I would check with the teachers, give me all the work he didn't finish. And then guess what? This child has no free time, nothing that they enjoy doing when they get home until they complete it all by themselves. All right. That's every single day. All right. That's the difficult part. You know, like, oh, in order for you to actually make meaningful changes, the onus, all of it is gonna fall on you. And I'm really sad to say that, but it is what it is. I'm not going to mince words about it, you know. And so you are going to have to be the one. You have to be the advocate for your child. You have to be the one to push. And for me, it's hey, you want your child to succeed, you're going to have to do that part of it. All right. Um Now, this other child is somewhere between verbalization and nonverbal behavior. Not quite sure what that means. Is like, you know, they're not completely mute, but they're not verbal either. Something in that area. Okay. And they've been doing ABA for about a year now. Child has started talking to themselves, but they can't tell if it's actual verbalizations or echolalia. Okay. Whenever they do this, I ask, what'd you say? But they just widen their eyes and stop talking. And the parent doesn't quite know how they should interpret or respond to this. It's a really good thing. All right. That's the first thing. Okay. And I'm just gonna warn you now, just like I warn all parents. Okay. Be careful what you wish for. Okay. My son, he himself was a late talker. Okay. And my wife was like, I would give anything if he just talks. Right. And I told her, don't make that wish. All right. Because you're going to come to regret it. Right. And she does. You know, she's like, can't you stop talking for the love of God? Stop talking. Right. Okay. Once kids start down that road, sometimes you run into this problem that, oh, okay, they are going to talk nonstop. Okay. I'm just warning you that right now. Okay, you're going to proceed forward, and I'm going to encourage you to proceed forward because it's better to have a vocal, verbal, verbose, talkative kid than one that isn't. Okay. So take it like a good thing. All right. Now, what you want to do is reinforce it. Okay. So whenever you see them doing it, do things that they enjoy. Okay. So that you want them to do it more and more and more. All right. And then in the program, start to like, oh, when you know, like, oh, there's certain vocalizations that they do. Then in verbal imitation, you're trying to get control over certain sounds that you heard them make because you know they were able to make it. So that's what you do. You just, oh, work on those sounds and get control over sounds. So you say, ah, whatever it is the child's doing, and getting down to be able to at least copy you. All right. And that's where you start on the road of building in more and more language and more clear language from your child. But it all starts with babbling, just with young kids. It starts with babbling, just like with our kids. They go through the same developmental levels. All right. All right. Oh, there's my water. There you go. When one talks so passionately, one gets very thirsty. Well, you either think I'm passionate or crazy. It's one of the two, right? All right. Now, this child has strong matching and visual memory skills. 7-year-old can match objects and a strong visual memory. So they can immediately pair 12 different shapes they've never seen before. However, they struggle significantly when it comes to differentiating between a banana and a cup. Okay. I'm assuming that's differentiating by listening, not visually, because he has a visual strength. So he has a hard time like differentiating when you ask for a banana or ask for a cup. They have a hard time. Like you ask for a banana, they give you a cup. You ask for a cup, they give you a banana. Mhm. And despite repeated practice, they have difficulty follow simple instructions like clap. Okay. Um, could this due to be could this be due to an issue with auditory discrimination or auditory attention? Yes. Okay. Like what you have to understand is this listening is a weakness for your child. Their strength is in their visuals. Okay. So what I recommend is don't go through regular programming for your child. Go through reading and writing. Okay. That means matching words to pictures of objects, matching words to instructions. So when you say you can do both. You can actually say clap, have the word clap, and then prompt your child to clap. You don't actually have to say it because it's not the saying it that's going to get them. It's the actual word card that helps them understand what you want them to do. Okay. So all receptive programs, every single receptive program we have can be a reading program. And we don't mean reading like, oh, you just give them a book and, you're teaching them to associate words with objects, words with emotions, words with shapes, words with actions, words with everything that we teach a child. All right. Just go full bore, lean hard into it to build out a lot of very, very good skill sets in your child, and then chip away at their listening, chip away at their talking. Okay. But I can tell you, teaching reading and writing will really accelerate your child's development of receptive and expressive because it's kind of like there's a big roadblock right in the way and you keep on smashing into it. It's just going to take a long time in order for that um bar barrier obstacle to be tackled, right? And if you teach reading and writing, what it does is it offloads a lot of stuff to a different area of the brain, and you're kind of bypassing the obstacle, and it's going to help develop those other areas in a tangential way. All right. All right. Questions about seating and waiting program in order to be ready for school. So the child's starting school next year, and the seating issue has become an urgent issue. They tried it last year, but they failed. And now they feel like we have no room for failure. To create a structured environment, the parents set up a routine where they play a random first grade educational program on EBS TV and have the child sit in the chair while watching. Now, during the first attempt, the child manages to sit for 4 minutes, but their posture started deteriorating after 2 minutes. Still, they remained seated. At around the 2.5 minute mark, they began making noises, either echoing the TV or attempting to start a conversation with me, with the parent. Eh. They know this wouldn't be appropriate in a classroom setting, and because it feels very, very random to them. Okay? So the parents wondering, like, oh, how should they set the goals for this program? Should they reinforce the child for sitting quietly with good posture for even just 1 or 2 minutes before gradually increasing the time? That's my preferred method. You always go from an area of strength into an area of weakness, rather than just kind of like shaping it over time. It's, to me, better to have those very strong, hard criteria at a much lower time frame, and then when the child gets excellent at that, increasing and being systematic with the way that you increase the time. Okay. The other option was to set a goal of 5 minutes, allowing some fidgeting as long as they don't get up. Okay. Like I said, my preference is for the first method. You can go this way, but for me, oftentimes you allowing the child to do something and then you trying to narrow it, like you're trying to up the standards. It's actually harder because they're like, wait, what? You used to let me do this, but now what? What? No. Like, so for myself, better just to go with that first method. Okay. Now, if they stand up or make a noise before reaching the goal, how should the parent intervene? Should they give a consequence? Sure, why not? We all love consequences because consequences teach us things, right? Right? Yes. Okay. And then should they shorten the time and reinforce smaller successes? No. Okay. Like when we work on waiting, okay, we do it systematically. Oh, they're able to wait at 2 seconds over two people or three times. Then we move it up to 3 seconds and 4 seconds and 5 seconds. But it's all based on this pattern's level of success. Not, oh, they did it one time and that's good. What you want them to do is experience success a lot of the time. Okay. So that you have a floor, and every time that it's time to advance the floor rises without needing to go back down. Right. So for me, the child stands up, you tell them no, you give them a consequence, and then you restart the sitting again with that original time frame. So you reset the time. All right. So that's how I would approach it. The parent is also wondering, should they do it once a day and gradually extend the time, or be better do shorter sessions multiple times a day? When the child needs a lot of practice, I go with multiple practices, like, oh, one time a day, it's going to be very, very incremental, the growth that's going to happen. So I would absolutely do it frequently. But remember, don't rush it. Do not rush it. Okay. Get the child really, really good at that lower level before you increase the time. Whew, I don't know what it is. I'm exhausted today. That first question I think really threw me for a whew, I was in a fighting mood. All right. So now remember, send in those questions, now lucky for everyone, you won't be seeing me next week. You'll see the Miss Amy Cho, who will be going over, I think, social skills development. So make sure to tune in for that. I will be visiting my dad, and it's my kid's spring break. So I will be MIA for next week. But keep those questions coming in, because when I get back, we're gonna keep on answering those questions. All right. Wow, quick stream today. Yeah, yeah. So before you go, remember, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and tell all of your friends about us. All right, we'll see everybody next time. Bye-bye.